She never believed in love at first sight. To her, it always sounded like something out of a movie, dramatic, unrealistic, and far too perfect for the messy reality of life. But fate has a strange way of proving us wrong, and for her, it happened on an ordinary Tuesday. The cafe was nearly empty that afternoon. A soft rain tapped against the windows, filling the air with a sense of calm. She sat alone with a notebook, scribbling half-formed thoughts, when the door opened and a man stepped inside, shaking droplets of rain from his jacket. He looked around as if searching for something, and when his eyes met hers, time slowed down. It wasn't just his smile. It was the way he looked at her, like she was the only person in the room. She quickly lowered her gaze, pretending to be busy with her notebook, but her heart raced. She didn't expect him to walk over, yet a few seconds later, his voice broke the silence. "Is this seat taken?" he asked, his voice calm, but carrying a warmth that made her feel strangely safe. She hesitated, then shook her head. "No, it's free." And just like that, two strangers shared a table, unaware that their lives were about to change forever. At first, it was small talk. The kind of conversation people have when they're still unsure of each other, about the weather, the coffee, the city they both lived in but seemed to experience differently. But slowly, something shifted. Every time he spoke, she found herself leaning in, drawn to the sincerity in his voice. Every time she laughed, his eyes lit up, as though he had been waiting all day just to hear that sound. The cafe grew busier. People came and went, but neither of them noticed. Hours slipped by unnoticed. It felt effortless, like they had known each other in another lifetime and were simply continuing an unfinished story. When she finally glanced at her watch, she gasped. "It's been 3 hours." He raised an eyebrow and smiled. "And yet, it doesn't feel long enough." Her heart skipped a beat. She didn't want to admit it, but she felt the same. They exchanged numbers before parting, and as she walked home in the drizzle, she couldn't stop smiling. Something inside her whispered that this was the beginning of something extraordinary. The days that followed were filled with messages, good morning texts, late-night conversations, silly jokes that made her laugh out loud in the middle of the street. It didn't take long before he asked her out again. Their first official date was nothing extravagant. They strolled through a park, leaves crunching beneath their feet, talking about dreams, fears, and everything in between. She learned he loved music, that he secretly wanted to write a book one day, and that he carried scars from the past he rarely spoke about. She shared her own stories too, and with each word, a bond grew stronger. It wasn't just attraction, it was a connection. One that felt rare, fragile, and incredibly precious. By the end of the night, when he walked her home, there was a moment of silence. Their eyes met, and though neither of them said it out loud, both knew something real had begun. Weeks turned into months. Every meeting was filled with laughter, little rituals, and the comfort of knowing someone cared deeply. She loved the way he always held the door for her, how he noticed the small things, like the way she played with her hair when she was nervous, or how her eyes lit up when she spoke about her passions. He loved her kindness, her determination, and the way she made him feel like he was finally home. They weren't perfect, of course. Sometimes they argued about trivial things, where to eat, whose turn it was to plan a date. But even in those moments, they never walked away. They learned to fight for the relationship, not against each other. It was love. The kind that sneaks up on you quietly and then fills every corner of your life until you can't imagine it without them. One night, after another argument over the phone, she sat in her room, tears streaming down her face. She hated the distance, the constant ache of missing him. For a moment, she wondered if it would be easier to let go. But just as she was about to type the words she feared most, "Maybe we should take a break," her phone buzzed. A message from him. "I'm outside." She rushed to the window, and there he was, standing in the rain, suitcase in hand, drenched but smiling. She ran downstairs, heart pounding, and before she could speak, He pulled her into his arms. "I can't do this without you," he whispered. "No job, no distance, nothing is worth losing you." And in that moment, she knew they were stronger than the miles between them. From then on, they made a choice every single day to fight for their love. They found ways to bridge the distance. Weekend trips, handwritten notes hidden in luggage, playlists sent to remind each other they weren't alone. It wasn't easy, but every struggle only proved how much they meant to each other. They learned that real love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other again and again, even when it's hard. Months later, on a warm evening as the sun dipped below the horizon, he took her hand and said, "I don't know what the future holds, but I know I want you in mine." Her eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "Always." And with that, two souls who once sat across from each other in a quiet cafe, strangers on a rainy afternoon, became something more. Not just lovers, not just partners, soulmates. Because sometimes love doesn't just happen. It grows, it struggles, it fights, and in the end, it conquers everything.